Right, I think I'm live. Just gonna fiddle with my windows here. Make sure I can see the chat. And I think everything is situated now. Let's see. I've got a huge TV behind me, or behind the camera. And I hope the wind isn't too loud. I have a fan on me right now. It's about 80 degrees inside my garage, if not higher. Let's see. Got a little thermostat. Yeah, it's around 81 degrees Fahrenheit inside the garage. So it's a little hot, so I have a fan on me. Right. Well, anyways, I'll get started. So I created the Steam Machine replica and did a 3D print of it. And I did say that if my channel reached 6,000 viewers, or sorry, 6,000 subscribers, that I would give out the files for free. And so we have reached that number. And so now we are, I'm going to actually build it again on live stream. It won't be as intensive as the previous video, because in the previous video I had to join all these pieces together, put in heat inserts. I even painted parts of the case, so that won't be done in this live stream, obviously. But we will be putting it together. It's been almost a year since I've made that video, and so I've actually kind of forgotten how things go together, but hopefully we can do it together right now. And so again, the files are now available for free. You can find the link in the description of this live stream. I've also posted in the community tab with the files there. And if you go to the original video, that'll also have a link to where the files will be. And so now, yeah, you have the files, and you can go through all the trouble and fun of putting it together. And I need to remind everyone that hasn't seen the files, but again, everything is kind of built into a bunch of pieces. So be prepared to be doing, I think I even hammered the pieces together there, but you'll also be needed to glue stuff if that's needed. But let's get started on this. Ooh, I did want to talk about this thing. So originally I wanted the photos and the videos to feature this controller, but I didn't know where it was. I did end up finding it in my mess of a garage. It was somehow placed inside a laptop box. So, but I'm glad I found it. It's a neat little piece of history, I think. I'm not a big controller player, but I have read that there's a lot of customizations that you can do with this, and it's a neat little device to have, and I'm glad I found it again. So let me go ahead and get this thing started. So I got some pop-up windows here that I want to remove. All right, cool. And if you're watching and the audio sounds terrible, let me know. I'll see what I can fiddle with to make it better. But if it's fine, then no need to comment. All right, so let's get this PC together. Again, in the original video, and if you decide to build the case yourself, you will have to join these pieces together. In the original video, I believe they made the tolerances so tight that you had to hammer them together. But once they were hammered together, they did not come apart. So I also did melt parts of the seam, but I don't think it's necessary. You could probably also just use glue. And you'll also see that there are like 3 magnets on each side, and those will interface with the magnets on the bottom part of the case. And again, so if you need more details on that, there's a really long video of how I put it together with all the instructions. So make sure to look at that. And yeah, let's get pieces in here. I believe the first thing we put in was the motherboard. I think it was, yeah. And So I already put my RAM in, my CPU, my hard drive in the back. And if you watch the original video, I did use these Noctua like little fan ducts. They're little foam pieces, and it just helps seal the CPU against the vents of the top of the case. But I believe this goes in first, so let's go ahead and do that. And then to remind everyone, there are heat inserts in the case itself. So I like using them because then you can repeat the installation multiple times. If you use self-tapping screws in plastic, eventually they wear out and you'll just not have a functional case unless I know there's ways to like get that hole to how it was before. You can kind of like melt something in there, or you can even just drop like epoxy in there and then just drill a little hole, so you kind of have like a small hole again for the self-tapping screws to be used. But I like heat inserts, so that's what I'll be using in this case, and also majority of my cases actually. I don't think I've released a case that has self-tapping screws in it. I know people have requested it, but I just don't like it. So if you keep requesting it, just be prepared to have it not happen. All right, so I'm just using normal 632 screws on this motherboard, and I tightened them too soon, so now this one's a little crooked. Okay, good. Now we're good. And it's ITX, so they just use 4 screws, easy peasy, and it's now in. And you'll also notice that when I designed the case, I left a lot of the bottom kind of open, so you can't. Okay, Conton CE says it's the GOAT. Appreciating that, thank you. Or I don't know what you are, guy, girl, whatever. But I did have the holes available so that you can access a lot. Like I could access my NVMe drive here. Obviously the Noctua NH-L9A, I think is what it's called. Yeah, it actually has to be installed from the back, and so yeah, it gave you all that option. So there it is. And I think the next thing I need to put in is the power supply. Yeah, I think it's the power supply. Now, in the original video, I used the stock platinum cables that came with the SF750, and it worked. If you watch the video, I got it done. I have a bunch of like mounting holes on the bottom piece. You'll see a bunch of holes here, and I made those so that you can use a bunch of zip ties to do cable management, because with how tight things are, if you use the stock cables, you're going to need a lot of zip ties to make sure they're all together. If you watch my other videos, I have a bunch of custom cables, and for this build, I'll be using the custom cables for the 24 pin and the 2 PCI Express power connectors. But the CPU connector that I used for the previous build was too short for this build, so luckily I still have the stock platinum cables for the SF750. This is the SF600, but whatever, same thing-ish. A little less powerful, less efficient, but it surprisingly still powers everything I've been throwing at it. But yeah, so the next step is to install the power supply. And to install it, let me just move this out of the way. To install it, there are 3, I think you can see it, it's a little dark, it's all black. So there are 3 mounting holes here, and they just use normal screws. Let's see if I can get this in without seeing it. Yeah. I won't tighten it all the way yet. And again, if my audio's not that good, let me know and I'll see if I can like bump up the gain or whatever. I'm not sure how much controls I have over the audio, but if it is crappy, maybe I'll turn off the fan. My audio's fine. Thank you. I do have a fan on me. I think it's like 90 degrees outside right now, and my garage is, let's see, it's currently sitting at 82, and it's only going to get hotter since the sun's setting on this side. Okay, so we've got the power supply in place, and I think I have to install this 90-degree cable. So this cable basically just routes throughout the case, and it allows you to connect a power connector outside the case. And this is optional. I mean, you don't need to use this. You could just route the cable from the back all the way to the top here, but it's always nice to have it kind of self-contained, because if you do it that way, you'll have like a cable dangling outside, and nobody wants that. And let me see. I believe it was this way. Okay, and then there is a gap in between the power supply and the motherboard, and I could have made it tighter, but I purposely left it kind of a big gap so that you can kind of route cables in there. And now you can affix the power connector in the back here. And I am curious too, like, what's the timing for everyone? Like, I'm in the West Coast, so like it's almost 4 o'clock here. Curious to know what time it is for everyone else. Maybe I can kind of, if I do decide to do more consistent streaming, I can kind of cater it to when you guys are online. All right, busting out the first zip tie. Maybe not yet. We'll leave it for later, because I only have like 5 out. I do remember I made like a time lapse for putting this thing together. So Canton CE, East Coast, 7 p.m. Oh yeah, that's right, 3 hours. 2 a.m. Oh my gosh. Taizuni coming in hot at 2 a.m. My goodness. And then we got Philip Bodor 1. So that's like, wait, 1 a.m. as well? Oh my goodness. Yeah, like what are you eating for dinner? Actually, also like Philip and Taizuni, what are you guys snacking on at this hour? Like I'm assuming maybe it's like not like you probably don't have like Taco Bell, so I'm wondering like what fast food do you guys have available to you there? And Jake, yeah. So the files are available now, so yeah, feel free to download them, and if you do print it out and get it all finished, like please post photos so that I can maybe share them with the rest of the community too. I love seeing the builds you guys do with the files I have. All right, so where was I? Yes, so now I've got the power cable. I want to say that the next step is to possibly put in this power, the other power connector. So I'm going to put in the 24 pin now. I probably should have watched my video before doing this stream, but we're all doing it hot. I think we'll be fine. And then now I'm gonna snake this CPU cable here, the CPU power, and I hope it fits there. I do have like flashbacks of how tight this was when I did it with the stock cables. And I probably will require at least 1 zip tie in there, but I won't do that yet. I'll decide on the zip ties when I get the video card in. But I also remember, oh, I know I need to do this thing. Okay, so if you watch the original video, I created this face plate to mimic the original, and the original had like this like smoked plastic, and if you look at my previous posts, I did try to mimic that using clear PETG and then also like staining it, but that didn't quite work out. And let's see. Oh, Canton, man, you are everywhere. You were in Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico is awesome. I see. I was very curious about this case. I need to sleep, but case will be better. Yeah. All right. Good night, Philip. That's too funny. Oh man. All right. So where was I? Okay. So basically, there's like two pieces to this power button, and I think I should install the cables in first, and then so I did design it using like these kind of run-of-the-mill power buttons you can get on Amazon, and they're all linked in the original video. And basically, it should just snap into here. I think last time I did this, I broke it. No, didn't break that time. Or maybe it was already broken. Is it loose? Anyway, so it's in. So the power button just nests inside here. And beside that, I do have these kind of just, I think they're normal like 5mm LEDs. And they just squeeze into these holes. It's a little tight there. And yeah, they go in there. And this one goes, this one's, wow, I don't remember being that tight. Maybe I got like paint on it or something. All right. And then this should just slide into place. All right. And now you have the power button for the steam machine. It doesn't look too bad. I probably should have like added an extra layer of paint while I was doing this, but I don't know. I hate painting, and it's also terrible for your health. So if I can avoid painting, I will avoid it. All right, so it then just slides in here, and then it might be hard to see on your end, but there are four heat inserts on the faceplate here that are used to keep it all together. And I do remember this being a smaller head, so I'm going to go ahead and change out the bit. And it should just screw in like so. And originally, I think I printed this in normal PETG, but lately I've been falling in love with PETG with carbon fiber in it. Now, I know you probably, if you're into 3D printing, you've probably seen all the hubbub about the carbon fiber filaments possibly embedding in your skin or even breathing it in. I will say I'm not overly concerned about it because I don't really handle the cases as much. I mean, if it was like a handle to something I was designing where I know I'm going to be touching it constantly, I think I wouldn't use the carbon fiber. But I think if you are just going to print out a PC case, I don't think you're going to be handling it often. And so I think you can get away with it. I honestly, I'm probably more scared about like off-gassing of plastics than I am of the carbon fiber or glass fibers in some of my other builds as well. Let's see. So Philip says, I like bare surface of printed models without paint. When I try to replicate your case, I will decide if I will paint. Yeah. So Philip, originally, I was trying to design it so that it would work on my artillery Sidewinder X1. And it has a fairly large print bed. I think it's like 300 by 300. But it just didn't fit. And I know that a lot of people have been asking me to design the cases that they would fit on smaller printers. And so I did split it up. And I'll tell you right now, if you decide not to paint it, you might not like what you see. I think if you watch my original video, you'll see it before the paint, and you will see just so much like irregularities in the surface. Like right now, I've kind of ruined it by melting it. I mean, you don't have to melt it, but I was just messing around on the video. But you'll see that, like, depending on also on how you orient your pieces, some of these top layer lines might not match up. And then at the same time too, because there are, for instance, in this portion here, where I did have it so you have to print it out with no top or bottom layers to expose the infill. But you'll also find that there's like tons of like irregular paths that the 3D printer takes, and it just it's personally, I think it's ugly. So I just be prepared to like do a lot of finishing. Like, I mean, this honestly is kind of a garbage paint job, but I think it's good enough to hide most of the faults of like 3D printing and joining pieces together. And so just be prepared for that. No, that's good. All right, you're too kind, Philip. You're too kind. All right, let's move on. Let's okay, so now I've got the power button in, the power LEDs in, and I suppose I could connect them. I don't think I'll be turning it on for this stream. I just want to like put it together, kind of like putting Legos together, I guess, for y'all. But maybe if we have time, I may just turn it on. I don't know. But let's see. I think this goes here, but for sure I've memorized where this power switch is. It's like in this little area right here. And then the LEDs, I'm gonna let the LEDs hang out on their own for a bit. I think we get the point across of how to put that together. Okay, so CPU power is in, 24 pin is in, power cord, NVMe drive, no other hard drives, power cord there too. We got these two PCI Express cables dangling. Oh, I did forget something. Okay, so I did decide to, sweet, the mass shares to this channel pays off. Download now. All right, thanks a lot, Vipus. All right, so I did design them with these USB 3.0 connectors in the front. And just like the front panel, let me see if I can angle it with the camera, there are 4 heat inserts here that will connect with this. And let's go put that in right now. And actually, with the, you'll see in the description, I have like links to the parts I use. I will say, I mean, I don't think it's the fault of the product. I think it's the fault of the user, aka me, but I've stressed this out way too many times to the point now where the housing is trying to separate. It still works, but I would still recommend buying it. Just don't use it the way I use it. I mean, keep in mind that I design a case like almost every month, and sometimes like the connectors won't always make it to the case design, but I will try things out like off camera, and I think I've just been fiddling with this thing way too many times, and that's why it's kind of coming apart. So just keep that in mind. Like these aren't fragile, but at the same time, they weren't really designed to be like manhandled constantly. I don't think. Like they're supposed to be set in place, and then the cables aren't supposed to move. But so if you're constantly moving them like I am, like don't expect them to last very long. And I know that in some of my builds, especially because I do a lot of like small form factor builds, it just takes a beating. I've also noticed that on my own personal PC that I haven't taken apart, I've even probably like stressed out the cables there, even with just one installation. And so just be mindful. I'll probably put these upside down, but it's okay. It'll still work. I think I can get away with just one screw just to like show you all how it looks like. So I'm definitely not going to be using it like this. And basically the components here are going to be taken out and put into a new project very soon. There's actually a sneak peek of the next project right over here. So stay tuned for that. That one's been kicking my butt, but I will try to get it out ASAP. it's been it's an interesting one. Maybe it won't be interesting to everyone, but it'll be interesting to some. All right, now I'm just installing the USB 3.0 connector here. Man, that thing sticks out like crazy. I kind of want to rewatch my video to see what I did with it, but I'm assuming I just kind of bent it down like this. Yeah, I'm going to need a bunch of zip ties for this one. But I think if you're watching this stream, you're probably well aware of how intricate and complicated building in small form factor PCs is. So I'm hoping it's not like completely foreign to everyone here. Okay, I'll leave that there for now, because I think we can move to the GPU. So here's another kind of special part for this build. It's a PCI riser. The model is R33C, and this was actually the inspiration for this entire project in general. I never actually intended to ever build the Steam machine, but if you know the case by Dr. Saber, and in the original video, I think I linked to like where all the discussion started from, but essentially he designed a case that was really cool. It was really thin, with really thin profile, and I think what he was struggling with in the past was how to get like a nice PCI Express riser to work with his cases. I did own the first version of his case, and I do remember it had like a flexible riser cable, but he did come upon and researched this particular riser in the past. But one of the issues was it was like motherboard dependent. And so if you didn't have the right motherboard, I got lucky with this one somehow. If you don't have the right motherboard, like parts will interfere with each other. So even though this like goes in like a normal PCI riser card, it's when you introduce the video card, that's when issues start to rise. And so, wait, how did I do this? Hold on, I think I did it wrong. I think I had to install the riser first and then slot it in. Yeah, I think that's how it goes, because it is quite tight in here. Okay. All right, so that's in. You'll notice there's like a bunch of white goop on the back of this GPU. I had it water cooled, and I instead of using thermal pads, I tried out thermal putty, and so that's the white stuff you see here. It's not from me, if you're wondering. Okay, so now I think this goes in, and you'll see what I'm talking about. So as I'm putting it in, you'll see there's already contact with the motherboard. Man, I made this look so easy in the video. Okay, all right, so it's in. But you'll see I got super lucky in that the fingers from the video card, let me see, is there better lighting? It's just, I'm sorry, it's all black. But there is, so here's the PCI bracket for the video card. And on the bottom, there's these little fingers that stick into the case to help it stabilize. And some motherboards will not allow this configuration to happen. I do have a link to show like which motherboard should work for it. However, I mean, I got lucky here. There is actually some contact even as it stands right now, and that's why you'll see some. I believe like Optimum Tech, if you follow that channel, it's a great channel. He created his own 3D printed case, and I believe he uses a riser very similar to this, if not the same one. I don't remember, but to get around this like clearance issue here, he ended up taking out the PCI bracket from his video card and just mounted the video card directly to the case. And so if you do encounter this when you are building the case, you might have to somehow affix the video card to the case without using without using the PCI bracket. Yeah, so Philip says, let's see, hold on. which tool are you using to make your 3D model? So Philip, I use SolidWorks. I also use Onshape sometimes, but generally just using SolidWorks. I do like Onshape because, I mean, it was, I've met with the founders before they were even like public. And so like, they were like all ex SolidWorks people. And so I think that's why the transition is easy, because it's kind of the same commands and whatnot. And then let's see, the riser or something. Yeah, so the Steam Machine definitely did have a riser just like this. And the Steam Machine also removed the PCI bracket of the video card in order to fit their case. And so it is going to be very circumstantial in terms of like who can utilize this configuration. But I mean, if you have a 3D printer, if there's a will, there is a way. All right, so now I believe the video card just screws in. Ooh, I think I used too long of a screw here. Give me a second. You'll see my big little thing of screws here. I think that'll work. So this is just decades of screws that I've just gathered and hoarded, and they all get used eventually. But it's nice to have just a bunch of screws lying around. And I hope this one works for it. Yeah. Okay. Hold on one second. Why is this being so funky? I don't think this is not, I think it requires shorter screws unless these are too long. These look pretty normal though. All right, let me see. I don't think anything changed when I made the case, but let's see, that's a shorter screw. And this one's also short-ish. I'll have to rewatch the video. If it's a silver screw I'm putting in, then very likely it is a smaller screw. No, I think I just wasn't torquing it hard enough. Yeah, okay. So that's in. So when you put the video card in, oh, Saper is here. So Saper PL, if anyone's watching the chat, so that is the gentleman who created the Sentry and who also inspired me to do this project just because of this one particular connector. And so, yeah, so Saper, the files are there. Yeah, thanks for the inspiration. Really appreciate it. All right, so go back to the video card. I have it, I designed it so that the PCI bracket actually rests on this bottom part here. And then on this end, right over here, it's hard to see on camera, I think. Yeah, actually, no, you can see it right here. So you can see there's a little M2.5 screw and heat insert there. And essentially, I just put it there so that it could be a way for the video card to be kind of held up, because there is a lot of like torquing that'll happen with the video card in this configuration. And it's just not enough to rely on the PCI bracket and the PCI bracket like tabs here. So that's why I put those in there. And just tighten this. All right. All right, while we're here, I think all I need to do is just install the power connectors. Now, I think in the original video, I used the stock cables, and that was a nightmare, I'll be honest. Like, because the stock cables come with pigtails. And so you're dealing with like multiple connectors that you have to somehow like hide and route. But with custom cables, you know, I mean, I definitely did not install the pigtails, because you really shouldn't be doing the pigtails anyways. Let's see. Bypass asked, do you think PLA Pro would be okay for the heat? I have used PLA Pro on a 5-liter with an A2000. So far, I didn't notice any plastic distortion issues. How well is the airflow? Okay, so I'll be honest. I obviously don't use this particular case as my main PC. because it's kind of a hot box. It looks awesome, I think, but no offense to Saper, but like if you try to shrink the components as small as possible, what you're left with is like this heatsink that I'm using right now. I think it's pretty popular. It's the Noctua NH-L9A, but it's not enough for like really fast CPUs. So right now I have a 5800X3D installed on this. It's pretty hot. It's pretty fast. And I do remember that for the video, I had to do undervolting to make it like work okay. It wasn't somewhere like I would be happy with, but I know that like other people have different tolerances. For instance, I mean, just as reference, my tolerance is like my main PC is all water cooled, and so I like low temperatures and I like low noise. But if you scour like the SFFPC subreddit, like you'll see dudes that are like running like 1400 Ks with like the tiniest heat sinks. I don't know how they do it, but they do it. But personally, if I were to use this case like all the time, I'd probably go with like maybe like a 7600, like non-X, if those even exist. But I would definitely aim for like mid-range, because you don't have much room for CPU. There's no active cooling or exhaust for the GPU. And so you are going to be highly reliant on just the venting that's on the case itself. And sometimes it might not be enough. So when I did my thermal testing, like I got carried away. I think I played like 4 hours of Cyberpunk on this thing, but it did get hot and it got loud. I tried to alleviate it by changing the original design of the steam machine. So the steam machine did not have this grill section on this portion of the top. And I put that there because most GPUs nowadays will actually have cutouts, very similar to my GPU here. They'll have cutouts located near the back so that air can flow through the heatsink and the fan and then through the card itself. And so my theory was that by changing the design and adding these vents here, I was able to kind of help the thermals a little bit. All right, so Philip Boder. Pigtails exist only for a reason of powering PCI cards like TV tuners and sound cards together with only one cable. Definitely not a GPU. Yeah, totally agree with you, Philip. But it's just funny. I never really understood like why they would even put pigtails on PCI Express like power connectors. I just feel like it's like a recipe for disaster for someone who's like, hey, I have these extra connectors. Maybe I can just use them. But such is life. All right. So, and Saper says, yeah, we went from 65 watts being okay in Haswell era to 170 watt CPUs right now, and not mentioning GPUs. Yeah, for sure. Like we're lucky that maybe it's just interesting that in my main computer I have like a SF750, and obviously that thing can like power a lot of components. But again, we're just like held back by like the wattage of the other components, though. Like it doesn't matter that your power supply can deliver all that power, but like it doesn't change the fact that you have to cool all that power. And yeah, to Saper's point, like going from 65 watts to 170 watts is huge. And so yeah, again, if you are going to be building in this case, I would suggest going for like a mid-tier build, unless you go all out and like do all the undervolting. You might like delid the CPU. I think there is room for like, I think when I did some of the drawings for the case, I did envision doing a D shroud for this, and also installing different fans for it. So that is a possibility for it. But if you are going to use it more of like a stock configuration, yeah, definitely aim for mid-tier. Like you don't want to be sticking in like a 4080 or like a 4090 here. But I think there is room for a 49er in here, but 4090. But the the PCI Express riser won't. I don't think it'll happen with it because it's just too short. It needs to be a 3-slot. This is a 2-slot. Yeah. So let's see where are we right now? I've got. Why do I have these extra screws? So I think I'm done. Besides like the power or like besides the power connectors that need to just be zip tied down and out of the way, I believe the case is done. So obviously there's no room for like hard drives. Not that I really use hard drives anymore. I just rely on M2 and NVMe. And yeah, so I think that's like that's it. So now the top panel just goes on. But I need to do more cable management. Let's see. Yeah, this guy's sticking out. So I must have used like tons of zip ties for the original video. Let's see if that'll just stay just for now instead of using all the zip ties. It probably won't. I think that's it. Yeah, so basically, you know, the original video lasted a long time because I had to do all the post-processing and painting, but I mean, as far as building it, once it's done, it's fairly simple. It's definitely not like a durable case. Like I wouldn't be like walking around with this thing. I think I showed it on the video. Like in the original video, I think I dropped it like twice. I ended up having to like repair parts of this. I don't even know where the repair was, but I know it happened. Yeah, see, I see some like very basic welding with a soldering iron here, but yeah, that's essentially how you put it together. And it's kind of cool that it still works. Let me show you the back. Yeah, so I didn't design in the IO shield. I just felt like, again, to the point of having a lot of wattage to cool down, I figured not many people are going to be seeing the back of this, and so having it open isn't such a bad thing. And so the hopes is that more air could be exhausted out from the back. And actually, I didn't speak about it, but so I do have this little low profile cooler. Let me just move this out of the way really quick. But you'll notice that there's these little like foam spacers that I used, and they just come out. They're like part of the Noctua system. And what this does is actually it will seal itself against the top of the case and ensure that any of the air that gets through the heatsink has been like sucked from the top of the case and not inside the case, which ensures that it's like the coolest air possible. Not that the air in here is really cool. Let's see, we're still at 82 degrees Fahrenheit, so it's not really cool air coming in, but that's just the hot garage. But I mean, when I did thermal testing for it, again, it passed like Cinebench. It did have undervolts, but like there was no like throttling. And again, I did game on this for a lot longer than I wanted to, but it did pretty well. And so I think if you don't game in a garage like I do, where it's like pushing past 80, you'll be fine. Like if you have AC inside your room where you're gaming, I think you should be okay. But do keep your expectations set so that you probably will hear a lot more noise because you are going to be taxing the cooling system in the system. And then again, but I think if you put in like a 4060 or a 4070, you should be okay. Maybe 4060 would probably be the best bet. But otherwise, yeah, don't go too high in these ones. I know that when the machine first released, they put in some pretty high-end components in there because they could. I mean, back to Saper's point, like a lot of GPUs weren't drawing that much energy, and GPUs definitely were not drawing that much energy. And so, yeah, just keep your expectations a little low for the cooling. But otherwise, I mean, it'll act like most small form factor PCs where there is some compromise to cooling if you don't optimize everything. So again, like maybe you got to use the best thermal paste. Maybe you might even have to like lap your heatsink or your IHS. I'm not sure. I haven't done any lapping in quite a while, but I know that when I was eking out as much cooling as possible, that was kind of like the last resort, which was always helpful. So if you are down for that, that's a thing you can do. Let's see. Bypass says, I love your case designs. My favorite part about this case is that it can be printed on good old Ender 3 Pro. Congrats on 6K, and thank you for your contribution to SFF and 3D printing communities. Yeah, for sure. Thank you, Bypass. I gotta thank you all too. I mean, like, it's your likes, it's your shares, it's your comments that grew this channel. And so as much as effort as I put into this channel, like, it's nothing without everyone here. And so I have to thank you all for taking the time to watch my videos and to enjoy them, because I know that, like, we live in a world where like shorts rule, but it's still amazing that you can all watch like 20-minute plus videos on some dude making weird jokes about whatever, and then also building a PC. So I do have to, again, send my thanks to everyone here and everyone who will watch or hear about it, and just thank them for helping out the channel. Let's see. More smaller holes in the CPU cooler area for CPU to cool better. You know, I'm not sure if the hole density is what's holding back the cooling, because in all honest truth, like, even an open air bench with this cooler, it's just like, it just gets taxed, I think. But I'm sure there's like percentage increases or decreases that we can have by having a more like efficient pattern. And in honest truth, like, I didn't design this pattern to like be that efficient. I just kind of try to copy the Steam Machine's like stock patterns. I don't think I even did it right. I think that you're supposed to have like 300 holes. Because I think they sent out 300 units, and so like whoever got a unit had like the top of their hole like chamfered to show like which part of their case or what time of the production that your case came out. Let's see. Watching but late. Your case looks amazing. Keep up the good work. Really appreciate it. Thank you. And then back to the hole pattern. And so I couldn't even do the 300 because with the way I put the lobes to separate the pieces, it just wouldn't work. Like the shape of the lobe interfered with the space between the holes, so I couldn't actually like keep it at 300. So if you're a stickler about that, I do apologize, but such is life. We can't get everything. But yeah, so this is essentially the case built again. I really just want to do this live just to kind of bring some people in to see it being built again, and also just to give my thanks out to everyone who's helped me along the way. So thank you to everyone. And if y'all don't have any more questions or comments, I think we can end it here. And I hope that the files that I shared are appreciated by everyone who downloads them, and also hope that Steam or Valve doesn't sue me for them, because they very well could. But if anything does happen, I'll just take them down, and hopefully there's no like legal action on their end, because it is still their IP, and I do have to respect that. And so if they ask me to take it down, I probably will. So be prepared for that if it does happen, but likely won't happen. I don't think they're going to be pursuing anything, because I mean, they're not really touching it. So we'll see. But that should be it for the live stream. I just wanted to, again, build it for y'all. And I do have another case coming up really soon. Here's the sneak peek for it. I won't talk much more about it, but what you're seeing is not what will come. So it's very different to what you see behind me here. It's kicking my butt. So Safer says, so Nintendo next. Oh man, which Nintendo though? Like maybe the Wii. If I somehow get like the new AMD X600, that would be fun. maybe something for Steam Decks. So Philip, I probably would, but I don't have a Steam Deck. I mean, I've got the only thing I've got is just this controller and then my replica here. That's all I got for Steam. If I ever do get my hands on a Steam Deck, then maybe I'll do something about it. I actually was talking to a potential sponsor about that, but the deal fell through. So we'll see. But I mean, so Phil, I guess I got to ask, what would you be thinking for the Steam Deck? Would that be like a cradle or like better handle grips or something? And Life and Hobby says, congratulations on 6K. Your channel deserves to grow fast. Thank you. Just waiting for Philip to answer. I'm surprised he hasn't fallen asleep yet. I think he's like maybe like 2 a.m. now where he's at. Like I've held the Steam Deck in my hand like once. Ah, I see. So a case for the Steam Deck to hold an external GPU. That'd be fun. So that's like an Oculink connection, I think it was. That'd be interesting. If I ever get my hands on one, we'll see. But right now, the idea is awesome, but I don't think I can act on it because unless you want me to just design something that I've never touched in my hand, so I probably just like send out this product that like means nothing to anyone. But Steam Deck, that'd be fun if I got one. Okay, let's see. You take down backplate, insert PCI, and use it with an AMD GPU. ETA Prime got a motherboard with a broken Steam Deck, and it runs without screen. Ah, I see. Yeah, that would be pretty cool, Saper. Saper's suggesting if I were to get my hands on the Steam Deck motherboard on its own without the screen, we could make a new case for it that's a lot smaller because it doesn't actually need the screen to turn on. And it would actually also open up to like better cooling, Saper. I like that idea. But again, if I don't have one, I won't be making it, but that's really neat. Yeah, it would be really funny to just like create like a really fast like laptop looking thing with like an actual GPU and then whatever the Steam Deck comes with. I think it's like an AMD APU, I think, from last what I read. But I do also have something in the works for adding external GPUs. I won't talk about it more here, but keep an eye out for it. It is something I've been looking at for a while, and I won't be the first to do it, so it's not going to be like revolutionary, but I think it'll be a lot of fun. But anyway, I really appreciate it again. I think this particular project was a lot of fun. I mean, I said I hate painting, but it's still cool to kind of like hide the 3D print. And so, yeah, that was a lot of fun building this thing. And again, thank you again for all the support from everyone. So that should be it. And thank you and goodbye. Let's see. I always have a hard time stopping this thing. Okay, let's see. Sorry, before I go, Philip says, I wish I could send you his Steam Deck, but I think the cost of the cheapest Steam Deck is similar as sending it from the EU. Yeah. And the worst part is like maybe it would get stuck in customs for having a battery or something, and then we'll both be screwed. So we don't want to do that. But Philip, I do appreciate it. Like you've been super active in the chat, so I appreciate you, and I will see you all soon. Thank you.